Good afternoon. Welcome to this BW Education Wednesday Wisdom. Today I am with two pioneers and two institution builders who are trying to make a difference in the lives of students and contribute to their growth as professionals and hence contribute to nation building. Let me welcome Dr. Manish Malhotra. He founded ATMC in Australia and then took it to UK, and he helped a humongous amount of students to achieve their dreams and their families' dreams. Welcome, Dr. Malhotra. To his right is Professor Duncan Bentley. Professor Bentley is the Vice Chancellor and the President of the Federation University in Australia, where he leads Victoria's premier regional university to be able to transform the lives of young adults and be able to help them contribute to the nation building exercise. So welcome to you, Professor Bentley. Good to have you in India. Let me start with you, Manish. You have been involved with education, skilling, training for a long time, and now you're bringing Employability.life to India. How does your past experience help you in being able to do Employability.life specifically in India?
Thanks, Dr. Batra, for having us here. It all started, of course, when I started this business 20 years back in Australia. I finished my PhD in Australia and set up this technology college in association with, affiliated to Federation University of Australia. And we had a great ride for 20 years. A lot of Indian students came to us. We had over 30,000 Indian students we have taught through our colleges in Australia. But in the last few years, I have to say that we found the market was changing dramatically. And it was predominantly because of the digital changes. The new digital boom of this digital economy was embedding into that. And we started looking into how do we fix this problem, because a lot of Indian students who were coming to Australia wanted to have a job, of course, in the right area, and we wanted them to have perfect careers, because as you know, mom and dads in the middle class are putting up a lot of money for sending them overseas. So we started looking into different employability programs at that time. That was the time when our university partner, Federation University, started to convert themselves into a co-op university, which is where probably I'll request Duncan to give a little bit more details about that. And we started offering those programs, which was pretty successful in Australia. And then we sat together and thought about it, that how do we address like a market like India, which is having this massive problem of this appropriate skilling in the tertiary sector. Seeing that India has kind of moved very strongly in that space, and automation in a country like India threatens as much as 69% of the future jobs, the future of work so change. We have to bring those employability solutions in India. But then the problem in bringing in India is that if we have to meet the scale of India, if we have to spread it across India, we have to deliver exactly the same quality as we deliver in Australia. We have to meet Indian price. It was not an easy problem to solve, as you know. So we came up with this product called experiential micro-credentials, where we are now delivering projects which is co-created along with the industry and the universities along with us from our Australia and the UK offices. And we are embedding that into Indian ecosystem, in the Indian institutions, so that they can actually have that experiential training and gain those experiences of real life before even finishing the qualification. So that's why we are here. We're launching Employability.life, our first product out of this company called XPMC. We've signed up with 68 colleges across India, and hopefully we'll get a good start going forward, and we'll be able to produce hundreds and thousands of graduates in this country, which will be absolutely ready to work for the future jobs.
Thank you, Dr. Malhotra. Clearly, India needs better skilled professionals. We have a lot of educated professionals, but their employability needs to improve through the right skilling. And I'm sure Employability.life will help them in their journey of being rightly skilled and employed. Let me come to Professor Bentley. Professor Bentley, with your huge experience of building institutions, making a difference to the lives of students. You've seen what is needed to make somebody employable. Learning is one part, employability is another part. How has employability changed across the world post-corona? What are the skills in demand post-corona that weren't in demand pre-corona? What has changed in the last 30 to 36 months?
I think in some ways, although Corona really acted as a catalyst for us to concentrate on what it takes to become part of a much more digital world, it was happening already. And
Corona just accelerated.
Corona just accelerated it. So if you look at any of the big organizations like BCG, McKinsey, what they're looking at and get in surveys they're doing of business leaders across the world is how businesses can cope with the digital transformation to be able to survive in a highly globally connected world where the geopolitical environment is becoming more challenging, so you have to be able to operate in your own home country, but also how do you find the skills that are needed for a 21st century career? And I suppose one of the challenges that I think that Corona has really driven home is the fact that curriculum has for too long been driven by traditional market demand without actually looking forward to where not only the knowledge but the skills are going. Because basically I can ask my app on my phone for pretty much any knowledge content that I need.
We're of ChatGPT.
Exactly. And ChatGPT, I tried it out the other day. It gave me a curriculum for my international tax law in pretty much as good a standard form as I could get, and it could probably cover up all the actual technical content. However, what it can't do, what it cannot do yet, and my research area is advanced AI, is to be able to bring the human dimension of creativity, collaboration, cultural understanding, and problem solving using that knowledge into, first of all, the classroom environment, but then far more importantly, and this is what employers are really asking for post-corona, and they're saying, where are the graduates who have these capabilities, because we simply don't have the time to train them because the economy is powering away, we've got a talent war, we've got to be able to deliver to the customers now. And so Employability.life we see, and the work we've built up in Australia over the last 150 years when we started off, but it's refined over that time to be able to deliver what employers want in graduates.
Absolutely. ChatGPT is based on past learning, past behavior of human beings. So anything that is new, creative, clearly, thank God ChatGPT can't figure that out. And you're right, Corona only accelerated the need for these new skills. And if I may ask, you already elaborated problem solving, collaboration, cultural intelligence. Let me ask you, soft skills in India mostly are good, but there's a large amount of students that graduate whose soft skills can be better. How does Employability.life and its collaboration with the Federation University helping these young employable professionals get the right jobs and then help them succeed at those jobs?
So one of the things that we've developed, which Manish alluded to, is we've had a long tradition of cooperating with industry and bringing them into the design, the delivery, and the training of students. And so as a co-op university, every single one of our students needs to have the ability, whether they're in arts or health or education, engineering, IT, or any discipline, they need to have the capability to embrace soft skills. And soft skills is such a nebulous word, and it suggests that it's something sort of less important than some of the other skills. But in actual fact, that is the critical human dimension that we bring to any problem. And you mentioned it earlier, that concept of imagination, curiosity, creativity. I did some research very early on when I became an academic, and I was asking top lawyers, how do you actually solve a problem? What is it that you look at? Take me through the steps. They couldn't do it because it was based on an intuitive integration of what they've done over many years. And that's what we've tried to distill in the XPMC products so that students can experience those elements that bring an expert interpretive framework, as it were, to any problem, which is the human dimension which sits on top of any knowledge or technical skills that you've got.
Professor Bentley, because you brought in XPMC and Employability.life into the conversation again, let me ask you, what is the relationship that Federation University and Employability.life have? Give us the contours of your deep relationship with Employability.life.
So we've been working with Dr. Malhotra for decades. We know he's an incredibly insightful entrepreneur, and one of the things that we've done collaboratively is to really push the boundaries of education, learning, knowledge. And recently the Minister of Education came to Australia from India and put out the challenge to Australia. It's all very well the fact that Indian-born migrants now are likely to become the top group of migrants in Australia, but we actually need to have all of that capability that you have given to those Indian migrants in India. And with the government's very forward-thinking National Education Policy 2020, we saw an opportunity to be able to come to the party with the government's challenge to provide a solution to the colleges who are crying out for the opportunity to have that, to have as part of their curriculum the additional content which will enable their students to become sought after graduates. Now we're number one for employment for undergraduates in Australia, and that's because of our cooperative approach. I mean, essentially there is a direct causation between that working with industry in an environment before you graduate and with your lifelong success, your lifelong earnings. And so we've experienced that over 150 years. And so together with Dr. Malhotra, we said, well, with his new project in Employability.life, can we partner with you? Can we support you with providing a gold standard international credential, which Australian universities have through our accreditation framework, so that we can provide that to support Employability.life in India, and to show that we're genuine about our investment in India? Can we invest with you as a strategic partner in Employability.life so that we can show that we are absolutely genuine, we're here long term, and because we see this as a critical opportunity, not just for India, this is where we're starting off, but India will show the way, we think, for Asia and then the rest of the world.
Absolutely. There's no question. We have the right attitude, we have the right basic education with new 21st century skills and skills that are needed post-corona. If they get added, the employability becomes better. And let me go to Dr. Malhotra. Dr. Malhotra, Professor Bentley just shared that they've invested in XPMC and Employability.life. Give a sense of what your products are and how will they transform who are your users, who will pay for the products, who is the end beneficiary of the product?
Okay, so the first product that we are launching out of Employability.life is XPMC. It's a short form for experiential micro-credentials. So when we started looking at this problem in India, we realized that the gap between the education and employability is quite substantial, is huge. Now, a lot of Indian institutions, engineering colleges, MBA schools are trying to resolve that. But in all fairness, individual work is not enough. We did a conference last year and we invited a lot of leaders across India to talk about this problem. And we realized that there needs to be a solution which is common to all the colleges that can be built to replicate and scale this in India. So we developed these experiential projects, micro-credential XPMCs, which are basically 3 months projects that we have worked with the industry to create a simulated work environment so that that can be easily can be provided within the existing education ecosystem in India. So we have signed up with around 70 colleges in India. These are mix of the BTech colleges, engineering, MCAs, and MBA colleges. And we have now created these project learning, experiential learning, alongside these students. Now, usually the students towards the final year will be doing the XPMCs that we have produced so far, but we are aiming that we will have different levels of XPMCs that will get a student started as early as they go into the university. So we are creating these projects, these experiential learning, alongside the degree programs for these institutions. Now, the benefit of this is that it provides a simulated work environment, and it also provides the real experience that they need to go into the workplace. Now, it's run on the agile methodology, so it's very close to the industry. We are not having a conventional style in these projects, so there are no lecturers, there are no learning management system. But because, like in industry, they have project managers, they have task-based solutions, they have project management software, and that's what we are using in this. We're replicating the industry standards as much as we can. We are starting with 2 XPMCs in the month of February, one in the digital finance and one in cybersecurity. And we have another 7 streams that we'll be launching this year that include product management, that includes artificial intelligence, digital transformation, supply chain, advanced manufacturing, and health informatics. So we are launching all of those experiential projects this year. We have got a very overwhelming response from our Indian educators. The colleges that we have partnered with, they absolutely think it's a brilliant idea because that will help them to move into this space. Now, with XPMCs, I'll touch base on what you said before, the soft skills. One of the big things for us is that it has to be different to what being already offered in the Indian education system. So it's not an internship, it's not a work integrated project. It's the proper experience that we are building alongside your qualification. So when I say a big difference of Employability.life's XPMCs versus a traditional internship, for example, is that we I think that there are 3 main differences in that. The first one is that this is built for task-based, not like the time-based. Like you probably have heard the internship is 3 months, 6 months, 4 months. So, but in the industry, when people work for you, I mean, it's more like task-based. We do not give them a time frame. We give them a task. So
Outcome-based.
So these projects are those outcome, those task-based projects. The second big difference is that internships are still very individual based, but these are the teamwork. So we have have the team, the agile methodology in this, where they have to work together. There's a project manager. There are different meetings they have to perform and so on. So we absolutely follow the teamwork in this. So we replicate that employability side of that. And the third is the holistic development. We are not here to just talk about the technical skills. We are not telling people that there is a cybersecurity thing and you study this and you become a cybersecurity certified something. But what we are doing is bringing that holistic development.
You experience it yourself.
Yes.
You produce something. So it's like apprenticeship in the true sense of it.
Yes, yes. So
it's employability before you become employable.
Exactly right. And we have 5 of our employability skills that we have developed that we are embedded into these XPMCs, which we think are absolutely
That's
needed.
growth mindset, cultural intelligence, influence, digital intelligence, and career intelligence.
You already know that.
Yeah,
right?
I can see it on the background. I noticed
So,
it.
yes,
And I think there is a real need for something like this. And as there is demonstrable success from people taking the experiential microcredits in their careers, I'm sure it will become a very valuable offering for young graduates and people who. Let me come to you, Professor Bentley. You alluded to it about the changes that have happened post-corona. But increasingly, whether you take the Harvard Business Review's article on how skill-based employability is really the way forward, or you take any instinctive understanding of how employability is changing, skill-based employability is the future. How do you think the educators and the educated need to reorient their mindsets for this new reality?
I think one of the critical elements is that we need to move much more to authentic student-centered learning. By authentic, I mean where students are key participants in the learning. Because when you go into the workplace, it is self-motivation to be able to engage with all the experiences you're having and make sure you learn from those so that you can then improve on it next time that you have faced the same problem. And that's what I alluded to earlier with the experts. They learn from their experiences. They're able to take in what they did well, what they didn't do, and then apply that going forward. And I think that for too long, because education has tended, because we haven't had the wonder of the digital and hybrid environment, which fortunately Corona helped us to see could apply everywhere, what we tended to do is have large classes, we go to scale, and it's so much cheaper just to have the sage on the stage talking away. And I mean, I went into, when I was guest teaching in Germany, I went into a lecture theatre which I don't think had changed in about 300 years. And it would be one of the few places on earth that you could go into, a university, and find pretty much the same setup that's been there for hundreds of years. And that's what we've got to change. And technology allows us to do that. It allows us to take away from the information transmission, where the old joke is that the notes go from the lecturer's page to the student's page without going through the brains of either. And we've got to move away from that so that we are actually living and engaged with it.
Let me ask Dr. Malhotra and you, Professor Bentley. There's a lot that's happened in the last 3 years in edutech. Is edutech here to supplement mainstream education, traditional lifelong education in the old immersive way, if I may use that term? And XPMC, the experiential microcredits can build on top of it. What is your view on edutech? First you, Professor Bentley, and then you, Dr. Malhotra.
I think edutech is absolutely wonderful, from augmented reality, virtual reality, simulations, to all the supports that can occur. And it's just the same as in any sector, whether you're talking mental health through to financial services, technology is making what we do so much more effective, so much better. We need to embrace it, engage it, and incorporate it in everything we do.
And you, Dr. Malhotra, your point of view?
So I think, EdTech, and especially for something like XPMC, technology is huge. We cannot scale it across India, those experiential trainings, unless and until we have the right platform. But I think it's not a substitute for a university degree. It's there to complement a university degree. We want to work with existing education providers to provide a better education experience, better learning experience. Because right now what we are missing is that, can we create learners for lifelong or not? Can we give them enough skills that they can go out and they can be thrown in a really hard situation and they can come out of it? We have seen a lot of these IT professionals now who were benched thinking that there'll be a big shortage, a labor shortage, and now they all are kind of finding it hard with all these big tech companies letting them go. So I think it has to be a war of talent rather than a labor shortage, and we need to address that. We need to address that the right skilled student, it has to have the mix of both the proper qualification and the right experience, and that's what we are doing. So for us, the EdTech platform has to be something that has to work within the existing education ecosystem. It has to enable, it has to enhance the existing colleges, existing universities, and give them a global solution that they themselves, from an individual point of view, are not able to achieve because they're standing alone. So if we come along with something with our international offices, come up with the product which is like XPMC, more of that within the Employability.life, and can give us scalability to a lot of Indian institutions, then we can see a big change on the ground level into tier 2, tier 3 cities in India, which is substantial and where we want to make a huge impact.
Yeah, that's really, there's a big long tail there. And if I met you in 12 months from now, 6 to 9 months from now, what would have this collaborative effort between XPMC for microcredits, for experiential microcredits, and your university would have achieved, both in terms of qualitative impact and quantitative impact?
We've got to understand that it's going to take time before any new product is broadly accepted. But it's amazing how in the last 9 months we've seen such an interest from so many colleges across the country, and I would like to see us starting to roll out the XPMC for students to start saying how much they've learnt, how much better prepared they feel, and they will say that, and for the colleges to say how much it's added to what they're already offering, so that it gives that extra dimension that Manish was talking about. And then for employers to be equally excited about taking on these new graduates. And in about 12 months, we should have seen batches actually graduating from the colleges, and for the employers to start being able to say, I can see the difference. It's making a tangible impact.
And I think on top of what Professor Bentley said, going back to connecting the last question about the EdTech, we would like to see that we have now captured the profile of work readiness for every individual student, because in the end, the scalability will only be achieved if we can map it somehow with the work readiness score of individual job profiles. Our long-term goal is to have individual profile of these students when they are stacking up such micro-credentials or training, and then mapping it with the job roles, mapping it with some sort of a score that exists in different countries for different that. Now that's a level of technology support that we wanted to see in this entire ecosystem. But going into the first 6 to 9 months, we see most of our colleges will be adopting this. We'll be seeing that we'll be running at least 5 different domains in this and coming out with a lot of data points that will help us to learn about where yes, exactly right, where the Indian students are and how we can help them more to build up that experience before they even finish their qualification.
Thank you so much, Professor Bentley, for talking to BW Education. Thank you, Professor Malhotra, for talking to BW. I'm sure the experiential microcredits as a concept and as a tool to be able to be better employable will have an impact on the young professionals that are willing to make careers in new age domains, digital finance, digital transformation, cyber security, NFT, blockchain. I could go on. I'm sure XPMC is the way forward. And we heard from Professor Bentley and Dr. Malhotra on how they have planned to have a roadmap and tools to be able to equip the next generation of graduates to be more employable and effective in the corporate and business world. Thank you. God bless you.